What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today.
What's cracking, y'all? How y'all doing? Back with some more Michael Jeffrey Jordan content. Came across this video. Michael Jordan, the real GOAT of NBA analytics, by the YouTube channel Basketball Universe. Now, I found it interesting because obviously Jordan has stats that haven't been touched yet, may not ever be touched, we'll see. But when we think about the analytics GOAT, a lot of people think of LeBron James, if not LeBron James, Wilt Chamberlain. But a lot of people discredit Wilt Chamberlain because the era he played in. But modern day, definitely, people think LeBron James, given his ridiculous longevity and the fact that he's still playing at a high level, still a top 10 player in the league today, arguably, I guess, but I think he is. But given the fact that he's still playing at a high level this late in his career, and he's just going to topple all the longevity records, all the cumulative numbers, he's just going to run away with a lot of those by the time his career's all said and done for, you know? So some people be like, LeBron is my analytics GOAT, but Jordan is my, my GOAT or my eye test GOAT, whatever. But, that's the biggest thing LeBron James has going for him, and the GOAT debate are his numbers, because if they're not overwhelming now, just based on longevity, they're going to be ridiculously overwhelming by the time he wraps up his career. And there's a lot of context to take with all that, but I'm not getting into all that. That's just a surface level statement. So I always find it interesting because there's a lot of other players that have amazing records and amazing stats that they can call their own or boast about, if not that. But nobody, the media, never really talks about it. They don't bring it up. They don't bring up, Kobe's records, Bird's records, Jordan's records. LeBron James is the record guy, so they'll always, paste LeBron stats and analytics everywhere you go, but not much to be said for other players. So when I came across this video, I was like, interesting. A analytics video about Michael Jordan and why he's the GOAT of NBA analytics. So I was like, let me dive into this, because I'm not a big analytics guy. I take the stats and the numbers for what they are, apply context to them, and try to come up with a big overall picture. But there's so much more to the numbers than just the numbers themselves. All right, I'll shut the hell up. Let's get into it.
Michael Jordan has it all. He has a team success portion, 6 titles and 6 finals appearances. He has the individual aspect covered, 5 regular season MVPs, 6 finals MVPs, 10 scoring titles, 1 Defensive Player of the Year award, and countless records. He was a generational talent. He was, and still is, the most marketable athlete in all of sports. He is also the most statistically dominant player, which includes the advanced metrics. In recent years, sports have become more and more driven by analytics. It has changed the way the game has been played in all major sports leagues. Thanks to these metrics, the game of basketball is more efficient than ever before. Because of this fact, some people believe that today's era is better than any other era of basketball. But what if I told you that the person who has benefited the most from analytics played during an era where these metrics were not taken seriously? That is the case for Michael Jordan. Hold on to your thinking caps, because this is about to get nerdy real quick. To start, what metric will we be using for this discussion? We're going to be using essentially all the metrics that are under each player's basketball reference page. If you search for Michael Jordan, you'll see there's a section for his advanced stats. This is a table that we're going to be using. We're going to disregard the 3-point attempt rate down to turnover percentage, but we'll be using everything else. We'll be looking at all the players from the beginning of the shot clock era, which is the 1954/55 season, to the 2023/24 season, in case you're watching this way down the line. Let's start with win shares. This stat attempts to divvy up credit for team success to the individuals on the team. It's an estimate of the number of wins contributed by a player based on their offense, defense, and playing time. To oversimplify it, a player who makes a well-rounded contribution on offense and defense will do well in the system. Michael Jordan is known as arguably the greatest two-way player of all time, so he benefits tremendously from this stat. Before we get to Jordan's numbers, there's one caveat that we have to mention about win shares. His biggest flaw is that it's a counting stat. This metric benefits the players who are on the court a lot. That's why the top 7 players with the highest win shares for a season belong to only Kareem and Wilt Chamberlain, who regularly play the entire season and average over 43 minutes per game. This is still a very helpful stat, but it should come with context. Let's take a look at the top 20 highest win shares recorded for a season. Michael Jordan is on this list 5 times. The only player with more appearances is Wilt Chamberlain, who has 6 total. Michael's career high came in the 1987-88 season when he earned 21.2 win shares. That is the highest out of any player since the NBA/ABA merger, which is what's considered the modern NBA. But that's not all. He also has the second and third highest for a season. There are 3 times when he earned at least 20 win shares. LeBron James and David Robinson were also able to earn that many win shares, but they've only done it once. Now let's go into specifics on how valuable he was on both ends of the court. Let's start with offensive win shares. If you look at the top 20, Jordan has 5 total appearances. That is more than any other player. His career high came in 1988 when he earned 15.2 offensive win shares. That's the 6th highest overall and the highest since the merger. He also has the 2nd highest for the modern NBA, which occurred in the 1990-91 season. He earned 14.7 offensive win shares. Now what about defensive win shares? This particular stat is dominated by centers. They benefit the most since they record more rebounds and blocks than any other position. So we're only going to be looking at guards. According to StatHead, he has the 7th and 9th highest ever. If you look at players since the merger, his 1996 and 1988 seasons are the most by any guard. It's no wonder that he's 5th all time in career win shares, despite barely playing over 1,000 games for his career. Now what about win shares per 48 minutes? This one levels the playing field to judge the impact of each player if they all played the same number of minutes. Let's take a look at how Jordan fared. He has 3 appearances in the top 11 alone. Shout out to Kareem, who has 3 appearances in the top 5, and also LeBron James, who has 4 appearances in the top 20. That helps evaluate how valuable a player is to their team, and that's value over replacement player rating. This is a box score estimate of the points per 100 team possessions that a player contributed above a replacement level player, translated to an average team and proportional to an 82-game season. It's important to keep in mind that this metric has been used since the 1973-74 season. Unsurprisingly, Michael Jordan has dominated. He has the record, which occurred in his legendary 1987-88 season. He had a 12.5 value over replacement player rating. A player rarely records a rating over 10. It's only been done 11 times. Out of the 11 instances, Michael has done it 6 times.
Golly.
In fact, he has 6 of the 10 highest for a single season. This all gives us an idea of what Jordan meant for his team every season. Nobody in the modern NBA has been able to bring as much value to a team as Michael Jordan has. Now let's move on to box plus minus. What is this stat? This uses the player box score information, position, and the team's overall performance to estimate the player's contribution and points above the league average per 100 possessions played. According to Daniel Myers, the developer of Box Plus Minus, the league average is defined as 0.0, meaning 0 points above average or below average. For example, a value of plus 5 means the team is 5 points per 100 possessions better with the player on the floor than with the average production from another player. He mentions that a plus 10 is considered an all-time season. There have only been 30 instances that a player has recorded a box plus minus over 10. And guess who has the most? That's right, Michael Jordan, who had 7 total. His career high came in 1988 when he recorded a 12.96 box plus minus. The same thing can be said about offensive box plus minus. He has 6 appearances in the top 20, which is the most out of any player. His career high came in the 1989-90 season when he posted a 9.09 offensive box plus minus. He also made his mark in defensive box plus minus. In 1988, he posted a 4.16 defensive box plus minus, which is the 10th highest ever. That is the second most by any perimeter player behind Nate McMillan, who has the all-time record. Now we move on to PER, or Player Efficiency Rating. According to his developer, John Hollinger, PER sums up all a player's positive accomplishments, subtracts the negative accomplishments, and returns a per-minute rating of a player's performance. It appears that this stat favors big men more, as they make up 56% of the top 50 highest PER for a season. But Michael made his mark here too. He and Steph Curry are the only perimeter players to reach the top 20. Curry only has 1 appearance, while Jordan has 4. That is the most by any player, along with Nikola Jokic. His career high came in 1988 when he had a 31.71 PER, which is also the 6th highest ever. Speaking of efficiency, his true shooting percentage is also very noteworthy. This stat takes into account shooting percentages from 2-pointers, 3-pointers, and free throws. He's nowhere near the all-time list, but we do want to mention where he ranks among volume scorers. There have only been 30 times in NBA history that a player recorded a 60 true shooting percentage while averaging over 30 points. Michael Jordan did it 4 times, which is the most ever. In his historic 1988 season, he averaged 35 points while having a 60.3 true shooting percentage. That's the second highest points per game average while posting those shooting numbers behind the 2019 season from James Harden. He averaged 36.1 points with a 61.6 true shooting percentage. The numbers say that Jordan is the most efficient volume scorer ever. The last stat that we're going to look at is usage rate. This is an estimate of the percentage of team plays used by a player while they were on the floor. So why are we looking at this stat? Because throughout all of NBA history, there's only been one player to lead their team to a title while posting a 34 usage rate percentage. Jordan accomplished this in 1993. But that's not all. Out of all the players in the top 100 with the highest usage rate for a single season, no one has been able to win a championship in the same year. But Michael Jordan did it a total of 5 times. For him to be that involved in the offense and to remain efficient while not hurting his team is a skill that very few players can master. But to also deliver a title, only Jordan has been able to do it throughout all of NBA history. So what do all these numbers tell us? Should this be the determining factor to crown a player the GOAT? I don't think so. I believe it's important to see the whole picture, and the advanced metrics should play a role. It confirms how great a player was. The advanced metrics certainly do that for MJ. In a world driven by analytics, the numbers say that no one had a better prime than Michael Jordan. It's just another advantage that the GOAT has. But what about you all? What role should the advanced metrics play in the GOAT conversation? Is there a certain stat that proves to you that Jordan or any other player is your GOAT? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.
Hey man, he pretty much how he concluded that is basically what I said earlier, man. Got to get it all for the big picture. Got to get it all. But that's the one thing, I listen to the people when they drive the metrics and the analytics and the numbers your way to, try to talk about their player, defend their player, and it's all well and good. But it's like, I could take any player and, pick, stat categories and how I want to present them to make their case look very strong. So a lot of times it's up to the other person to provide the rebuttal. I have a rebuttal, an analytics rebuttal to your analytics presentation. And then you come back and give me another analytics. Yeah, I got time for that. But I do like, catching it in a snapshot. Hey, Mike did that by the numbers. Mike did this by the numbers. When you break it down that way, per 48 minutes, per this, per that. This is where he ranks. This is how many times he did it. It's all good stuff to know. And it's incredible. Don't get me wrong. But Mike is one of those guys where, he has a bunch of numbers and analytics to back up his legacy, but also the eye test and the story backs it up as well. And for me, cumulatively, Mike has the strongest case when I take all that together. And that's why he is my greatest player of all time. But let me know what you think about it. Who's your GOAT? How do the numbers and analytics favor your GOAT or your favorite player? Let me know in the comment section. And I'll catch you on the next one. We out, baby.